people of Reddit who actually love math. How? I'm good at it. The best answer of all. I just love the patterns that you can find with math and how everything is so logical and structured. When you know trigonometry inside and out, everything around you makes so much sense and it's really easy to design stuff and measure things. Trig is just the algebra expansion pack. It's the same idea, but with angles instead of variables. Wouldn't that make it algebra and geometry's live child? It's like working out, but for your brain. Math unlocks different ways to think and supplements every other subject you learn when you're young. That's what math is there to do. Very few of us appreciate education because very few of us understand its value. The majority of people only say we ought to be educated, but really hate the process of getting there because it is painful. It's like quitting going to the gym because your muscles are sore when you're getting beginner gains. Hard agree. Sometimes if I'm in a really bad mood I'll sit down and do some math or a puzzle, and it always lifts my spirits. Makes me feel like I have a little control in the world. Gets that dopamine going. May I introduce Kokoro to you? It's like Sudoku, but it has a small bit of math involved. Oh my. That sounds like a dream. Thanks for the tip. There is a lot more involvement in math. In a normal class, you're just memorizing pairs of questions and answers. But in math you don't know what questions there will be, but you have formulas to work out the problem and find out for yourself, as opposed to just cramming a bunch of info into your brain, regurgitating it onto a piece of paper, and then forgetting everything in order to make room for the next test. That's true. Math does have a lot more active workers compared to passive listening. Good point. Maths has rules. Everything makes sense. Even the things I don't understand. Your answer is a paradox, and yet I understand completely. I don't understand why math is considered such an unattractive subject. It's really cool. It is what it is. The sad reality is most people are taught math completely incorrectly, and math is something that relies heavily on understanding the basics and mechanisms that make it work. Very few teachers, in my experience, focus on the why of a problem and just tell kids to memorize a set of formula and plug whatever numbers are given into them. That is a complete failure of math as a subject and as a useful tool. If you don't understand why you're plugging the numbers in or why you would want them to interact in that way, there's no ducking point in doing it and it just feels like a grindy chore. There really needs to be more emphasis on what you can actually do to derive use out of the math you're learning when it's being taught. Otherwise most people will just be bored out of their minds and not understand why they have to repeatedly calculate numbers in the same way for no reason. It's the language of the universe. Nothing of meaning can be accomplished without it. I'm finishing up my math degree this upcoming semester and I've enjoyed every second of it. It's also the language of music in many ways. But I haven't gotten to a point with music where my shitty math skills have held me back. It somehow feels empowering when you solve a problem or a task, and I kinda like numbers in general. I don't know how to explain it. Plus, I feel super smart when I can solve something. And as someone mentioned before, yes, there's a formula for everything. You just learn how to solve things and then practice. That's it. The sense of accomplishment you get after you solve a question is just so. I don't have words to explain it, but it gives you a shitload of endorphins. I know, right? It feels even greater when you solve something in chemistry or physics. It sure does. Everything had one answer and a formula to get there. Quadratic equations have two answers. Cubics have three. I could go on. No, one answer, two solutions. Yeah, fair enough. Went to college for math, honestly. Stockholm Syndrome. I agree. I love calculating 20% for people. \\\. See username \\\. Move the decimal over and double it. Math is a language. It's a series of symbols meant to communicate ideas. And it does so in an incredibly beautiful way once you understand it. It's logical. once proven is universally accepted. Doesn't rely on opinions or perspective or current trends or socio-political affiliations. Proof is trivial and is left as an exercise to the reader, also known as proof by intimidation. Apostrophe. It's pretty cool once you get into it. Also, the maths you learn at school is shit and boring and just comes down to here is a thing. This is how you do this thing. Once you get a bit more advanced, it's like chess, where you have a shit ton of ways to do things. And something I enjoy is when you go through 40 over 50 pages of work and they end up deriving something really basic that you learnt at school, but that was never explained to you. I think it's natural to love math, which is the best language you can use to describe the natural world, and I think it's a learned response to hate it. Almost without fail, I find that people who hate math had a bad teacher at some point, when it feels like guesswork, because you don't understand it. It's absolutely miserable. When you understand why everything works the way it does and can arrive at a solution with confidence, you feel like $1,000,000. Sometimes it's goose walk, because there's no great way to just solve things. Integration and differential equations, for example, don't have a better solution than advanced forms of guess and check. Most mathematical research involves throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, but sometimes everything just slots into place, and it becomes gorgeous. Math is logic. It's understanding a problem, boiling it down to the core question, and building a solution. You don't just learn formulas and how many watermelons Timmy has. You learn strategies to tackle problems, understand the underlying structure and patterns, and generalize your findings so they can be applied to a variety of issues. I'm studying mathematics at university and it teaches me logical and critical thinking, asking the right questions, and formalizing options and strategies. It influences my way of tackling problems in my everyday life, math related or not. Aspirations. Love math. Dude, math is awesome. Math is just something that I don't see, that you can't love. There is always one right answer, not this WH app do you think BS. It's fun. You just play around with a bunch of numbers, especially algebra. I was trash at English class and needed to be good at something, and math at least has definitive answers. It just makes sense to me. I found it crazy in school when I found out that people have a hard time or just don't enjoy math. For me, math problems are a fun puzzle just waiting to be solved. I have a hard time dealing with people. I'd like to consider myself an artistic person. I love to draw and paint. I guess my love for the art side just balances out with my affinity for math. The satisfaction of solving a hard calculus question increases my serotonin levels to unforeseen heights. I don't really love math, but I find it much more interesting and engaging than the other classes that don't include gym. It's structured. There aren't a billion rules like in grammar and I don't have to write useless essays. There aren't a billion rules like in grammar, I would say there are, but unlike in grammar, they're internally consistent. The answer isn't debatable, usually. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.